Hey, this is Aaron with Scalability, and welcome to Freedom Fridays, where I take the time for Scalability subscribers to get in, do a live Q&A, and answer your questions, give you strategy to help you move forward on what you're doing. It's not just me teaching at you, and it's not just tech help. It's actually the strategy on how you run a business and how your customers are going to flow through your business and how you're going to kind of manage and organize that. We want to make sure you have everything you need to succeed with the software so that we're not just taking software subscriptions and then saying good luck. I believe God created for 6 days and then he set everything on automation so he could spend the rest of eternity in relationship with us. And then I simply look at that and I go, how can we model some of that in our own lives, in our own businesses, so that we're not running around just answering emails all day and trying to figure out what we're doing. If we have a process from start to finish, then we can put automation in place to help us get some of that time back so we can spend time in relationship with God, with people, with your family, whatever it is that you want to do at that time. But I hate seeing people just running in circles in business. So when we launched Scalability, it was in response to 5 years of me being a systems creator for small businesses. And I say small businesses, but I've worked with $1 million company, 10 million and $100 million. And so I've seen it from all levels. And it is always too many softwares, too many logins, too many people doing too many different things, and not a clear vision from start to finish. And so my goal for Freedom Fridays is to help you understand the start to finish, to put the pieces together of how your business actually works instead of a side hustle. That way you can make some money as quick as possible and actually craft it in a way that works for you. So if you got a W-2, you got family, you have hobbies and ministry and everything else going on, that's awesome. This is where you need to be, because we're going to help figure those things out to where it works for you. Because naturally, hey, you want to grow a business? Just dump tens of thousands of dollars in ads. It'll work. But for those of you who can't do that, let's figure out how to make it work for you so that you can stick with it long enough to actually get to that level. So today we're going to talk about kind of front end marketing on just some organic methods of how to bring in some traffic. So I know a lot of people struggle with, how do we get people to our stuff? And so this is not going to be an in-depth, crazy, deep marketing seminar or workshop, but we're going to have some open conversation on a very specific process that you can do for free organically, and then just habits that you can put in place and the mindset you need to have to where you're able to talk about it consistently, whatever it is that you're doing, and make it work for you to where people just start to hear about it and you get comfortable with it to where the natural message gets, spreads out farther and farther, right? So I know I have been leveraging Facebook. Our particular audience is on Facebook, and we have some subscribers here. So you guys, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand or interrupt me, because this is going to be an interactive and it probably will spawn some questions. So I know a few of you have scalable subscriptions where you're coaches, consultants, doing something like that, and you're teaching. And then I know some of you have books you're delivering and autopilot that will lead to speaking and different things. But no matter what you're doing, there is a message that needs to be spoken of. And so first of all, if people aren't buying your stuff, you're not being loud enough about your stuff. That's the first thing we need to keep in mind. And then we can talk about what that means. But you're not being loud enough, which means you're not talking about it enough. Because if you scale a company by scaling ads, what's the point of an ad? It lets people know about your stuff. No matter what it is you're selling, an ad is you're paying to put a picture, a text, a video, a story in front of more people. The more money you spend, the more people see it. In other words, more people seeing your stuff. You're being louder about it. And then when they see it the first time, they run retargeting ads. What's the point? It's so that the same people see your stuff over and over and over. They're being louder about their stuff. So if we know that that's how the most successful companies in the world scale, is by getting their stuff in front of more people, well, then how do you get started? You got to get your stuff in front of more people. How do you do that? Well, in the beginning, it's just talking about it. How do we talk about it in everyday life? When I got into doing missions work, we did not go out telling people they needed to repent. We went out and told people our story. This is what we're doing. God told us to sell everything and go help this pastor in Thailand. So that's what we're doing. Like, well, who's your sending church? We don't have one. God said, go, we're going. It's just the way we do things. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. It's just the way we do it. People are like, that's so interesting. And so then people would start to tell other people, oh, we met this couple the other day. It's so cool. Like, they're just taking off and moving halfway around the world. People started telling people because they were interested in it. We could have very easily have just left, moved to Thailand to help him and never told anybody. What was the point of telling anybody? It was just so that people hear the message of what we're doing so that we can inspire some. And so some want to come alongside us and some aren't interested. And they go, oh, good for you. And they leave. But the fact that we're talking about it allowed us to do so many different things. And it allowed us to touch so many different people along the way. I personally have, I don't know if we can talk numbers or not, done over $500,000 just through organic on Facebook, of just talking and adding value to people, not spamming, not even taking people to DM, just adding value to people. And so today I'm going to kind of go over that process of how you guys can do that too, and how you can set that up and work your communities, because we use Facebook, but it will work with any community. The first thing you're going to figure out is your customer, the customer that you're after. Who is your ideal client? Who are you really after? And the more you get to know them, the better. But the main question we're at just for this conversation is, where's that person hanging out? Okay. So when I first started, I got into real estate investing. And then as I transitioned into coaching and creating creating systems in businesses, it was primarily for real estate investors. I was only working with wholesalers and flippers, and I was building systems and running software from start to finish through a business to where they weren't just a wholesale hustler, they had a wholesaling business. And so as I was working through that process, I was looking to help wholesalers. So let's say a wholesaler is my ideal client. I go, where is a wholesaler hanging out? Well, that depends on my business model. I look at everything and I say, I have to be able to go when God says go. So if God says go, I need to be able to pick up and leave, which means for me, a physical audience where I have to go to networking meetups isn't a good model for me. I don't even get involved in them because I don't want to feel like I need to be at the next networking thing or I'm going to lose a relationship. So for me, it's all virtual. You guys get to decide whether yours is in person or virtual, whatever that is. But where does your person hang out? I wanted to be virtual. So where does my person virtually hang out? Well, Facebook. In Facebook groups, there are groups everywhere that are committed to wholesaling and helping you wholesale full time and get started in wholesaling, beginners and lease options and flips. There's tons of real estate groups. So what I did was I started joining those Facebook groups. There's two things you can do. You can build an audience or you can help somebody else's audience. I believe Russell Brunson calls it your owned traffic, borrowed traffic, bought traffic, things like that. Owned traffic is like yours. I start a Facebook group. If you're in my Facebook group, you're my traffic. If you come to my website, you give me your name and email, you're my traffic, right? You're on my list. But if I partner up with somebody who has a Facebook group that has 100,000 wholesalers in it, that's their traffic, right? That audience belongs to them. But my ideal audience is hanging out there. So I would go join their group or start my own group. Well, if you start your own group, you're starting from scratch, which means you have to create all the content, interact with everybody, create the group, create the rules, screen everybody, monitor the group, and you have to keep people engaged or else your group doesn't grow and your audience doesn't grow. But if somebody else is growing a group and there's 100,000 people already in it, I can go join that group and immediately I have access to 100,000 people. Now, the trick is that you need to be ready. I always talk about the fast scaling quadrant, or FAST as an acronym: Foundation, Automation, Systems, Traffic. It's something I call the fast scaling quadrant. So the foundational elements need to be in place before we start attracting a bunch of people. So in this particular case, leveraging social media, I would go to my personal Facebook profile, and I change the header image to say, I help wholesalers turn the hustle into an actual scalable business, right? Something along those lines, to where it's saying, I help this person do this thing. And this thing is a pain point that they want to learn, that this person wants to learn. So I help wholesalers buy real estate with no money. I help wholesalers turn their hustle into a scalable business, whatever that is. But put it right in your header image so that if somebody lands on your Facebook profile, they're like, that's me. I'm a wholesaler and I need help with that thing. This guy does that. That's interesting, but I still don't know this guy. And so if they scroll down, they should see your bio, and your bio should say the same thing as the header image. Okay. Then right underneath that, you see your information, right? Like your website, where you're from, who you're married to, things like that. Get rid of all that stuff. I'm not social on social media. Social is for business. So underneath there, you don't need to know that I'm married and where I went to college and everything else. Put that you're a real estate, I think mine says I'm a systems and automation ninja for scalability. And then underneath that, there'd be a website, right? Where you want those leads to go. So what we're doing is we're setting the foundation of my personal profile to when a wholesaler creeps my profile and they're my ideal client, a wholesaler that wants to turn their hustle into a business, they're going to go, this person does what I need, because they're there to see who you are, right? I'll show you how we're going to get them to creep our profile in just a second. But what you're doing is you're setting up your profile to where if anybody comes to your personal Facebook profile, they're going to see what you do and it's going to speak to them, right? An elevator pitch, a hook that gets your ideal client to go, he has what I need. And then as they scroll down your timeline, they should see a link to your website that actually will get them to convert or opt into something or book a time with you. And then they're going to see pictures and videos and texts in your timeline that supports you're a real person. So in mine personally, you'll see pictures of me doing missions work or ministry stuff. You'll see pictures with my family, and you'll see stuff like Mighty Men, my men's group. You'll see business stuff. And I kind of rotate through God, family, and my business. And so all my posts are going to revolve around those three things, so that anybody who comes to my profile is going to see I'm a real person. I'm married. I have kids. I do ministry. This is my business and how I help people. And then up top, there's the link that tells them where website or where to go. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a LinkedIn profile, a YouTube channel, an Instagram account. You set up the profile with a link, and the posts all speak to your person and tells them that that link is where they need to go. Okay, that's the foundational elements, which if you have a website, this is simply a traffic portion in front of the website that tells people to go to the website. Okay, once you have your foundational elements set up, like on your profile, to where if anybody comes there, they're going to get a feel of who you are, and they're going to be like, this is my person. I need to go to their website or book a call or whatever. That's great. Now, let's go back to that 100,000 wholesalers in that Facebook group, right? Inside that group, I now block out 15 minutes each day where I go into that group and I answer questions. I don't take people to DM. I don't try to sell them something. I don't try to book a call. I don't try to spam the group. I don't try to sell my services. I don't do any of that. I don't even mention that I'm coaching or that I'm a systems creator or anything about that. I go to the Facebook group and I look for people asking questions. And when they're asking questions, I'm simply going to respond right there on their question by commenting on their post. And I'm going to do extreme detail, and I'm going to answer their question to the best of my ability. I'm going to provide value right there in the public eye for everybody who ever sees that post to see, because I'm not there to steal traffic from the group. I'm there to add value to the group. Okay, get this straight, because a lot of people do this and they're spamming and scamming. It gets them kicked out of the groups and everything else. Be somebody who adds value to every space you're in. So when we go to somebody's Facebook group or a live networking event or a LinkedIn event or a church or anywhere you're at, how are you just telling what you do and adding value to people, helping the right people with what you're good at? Okay, so I'm in this group and I answer people's questions in extreme detail. Now, you want to focus on the posts that have the most comments. So if I see one post and it's been there for 6 months and there's one comment, the way Facebook's algorithm is, it's not showing that post to anybody. It's kind of hiding it because it's not very popular. Facebook's algorithm promotes your personal profile and Facebook groups because it wants you to become friends and hang out in groups. So the algorithm will always point people to your personal profile and to groups. It will choose which groups to send you to based on whichever ones have the most interaction and the stuff going on in them, because they don't want to send you to a group that nothing's happening in and then you get bored and you leave. They want you to have a good experience. So the Facebook algorithm is set up to do that. Inside the group, it's going to recognize popular posts. And the posts that are popular are the ones that have the most comments. So if I scroll down and I see a question, it's like 3 months old, there's one comment, 2 comments. And then 4 months old, 1 comment, 2 comments. And then there's 6 months old and it's got 156 comments on it. That's a popular post, and Facebook will continue to show that to people. At the same time, that post could be 6 months old. And if I get in there and answer in extreme detail that question, like, hey, I know this is an old post, but I just saw it and wanted to make sure that you got it taken care of. If there's anything I could do to help, here's what I would do. And I just answer the question in extreme detail. And then I go through and click the like button on everybody else's comments and on the post. All those people are getting a notification from Facebook. Aaron just commented on a post you're following. And they're like, what post am I following? And they click on it and they see your answer. And then if you do this regularly inside of those groups, inside of those places, and regularly, I mean, show up and add value, answer people's questions, like other people's stuff, you are adding value to them. And when you do that over and over and over, the other people in the group start to see your name over and over and over. Aaron liked your comment. Aaron liked your post. Aaron liked your comment. Aaron liked your post. Aaron commented on a post you're following. Eventually they go, who's this Aaron guy? Like, he's never seems like he's selling anything. He never DMs anybody. It looks like he just gives really good answers to questions. What do they do? What do you do when you feel like you see somebody all the time on Facebook? You click on their picture or their name. Where does that take you? Back to their personal profile. So when you go back to their personal profile, what did we set up? A personal profile that points to where you want your ideal client to go. So if you had 10 people click on your profile and only 2 of them were wholesalers, all 10 of them are going to see my profile and they're going to get a feel for who I am: business, ministry, and family. But only 2 of them are wholesalers. So they're going to be like, oh, he does what I need. And they click the link to go farther down my funnel, down my rabbit hole, right? But the others just look at my content and then move on. Because the attraction method is adding value to people. Just like a good YouTube video, just like a good Q&A session, a workshop, an ad, no matter what it is, you're trying to add value to people, help them with something they need so that they see you as somebody they can trust to solve their problem. So we're just doing that in a Facebook group, expecting them to creep our profile. And when they creep our profile, it directs them to our service, our website, or membership, or whatever that is, our freebie. It doesn't matter what it is, but you set your profile up specifically for that. Okay. And you guys can go to my Facebook profile if you want. You can creep it if you want, and you can get an idea of what this looks like, because mine is always set up that way. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's just in between, but it's always a header image and there's always a link sending you to something, because I know that what I do is good for people. And I know that my ideal client, they're struggling with these things, I know we can help. So I have no problem setting it up and saying, hey, this is what I do, and this is how you can find out more about it. Have that mentality around it. So first is breaking that mentality of, are you social on social media, or are you doing business on social media? And is business and social separate? Now, a lot of people think it is. I personally believe that this is who I am 24/7. I don't quit work to go do missionary work anymore. And I don't stop doing missionary work because I got a job. And I don't not talk about my job because I'm around family and friends. You get it? It's who I am all the time. This is what I do. This is why I do it. Here's my family. Here's where we live. And here's what we're all about. If you don't like me because I have a business and you're my family, well, okay. I guess we can text each other. I don't need to be your friend on Facebook. So figuring out what you're using the platforms for, becoming who you are as business and what you talk about being your message to get out to the world, that allows you to set your profile up, and then this method will work for you. So the concept, right? Go where your ideal client is, add value, and makes them look for you, and you provide them a way to find you. That's the simplistic version. Does anybody have questions or comments that's here on the live? Because I'd like to get a little conversation and see what you guys are thinking. Good, bad, questions you think other people might be having, or experience you've had. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm so new with this. I haven't started yet, so I'm just learning how to do it. I have a Facebook page called Restoration that I was thinking about using and connecting to the ministry. I will be doing. I am a writer, but I will do classes and other things. So this is a good input for me, so that I can use. So thank you.
You're welcome. And a lot of people, you mentioned a Facebook page. A lot of people are like, have the idea, I'll set up a business page. Okay, big corporations, that's great. Big company, that's great. Have a page. All it does is create social proof, right? When they go look on Facebook, do they find you, and does it look like a legitimate business? But it doesn't really build the know, like, and trust factor, which is what we're trying to do with a personal profile. And Facebook's algorithm isn't going to show your business page to anybody. You're going to have to send people to your business page, or they will never find it. Because Facebook wants your personal profile to become friends with somebody else's personal profile and hang out in a Facebook group. So the algorithms, as of now anyway, are trying to connect profiles to be friends. That's why you become friends. It's a social platform. You have to understand what the platform is created for and how it works so that you can actually leverage the platform. So it wants you to become friends and hang out in groups. When you start a business page, it looks really professional and people feel good about them, and then nobody ever sees them. It's like when people first launch a website, they're like, it looks amazing. A website is like building a business in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Nobody's walking by. You have to tell people about it. You have to get people there. And so this is a method of like, how do we get people there? And if Facebook leverages or pushes people to the personal profile and groups, then get your personal profile set up and then go into groups and hang out so that people creep your personal profile and it sends them to where you want to be. So with that too, Inger, you're talking about having the book and the different stuff. You can have multiple products and talk about them on your personal profile, right? But then when they click on one, it's going to go to just a sales page for just that thing, right? So like, I know some of you have the scalable subscription where it's like, join my community. Well, you could have a post about your family. This is us on Easter. A post about your business. Hey, check out my new community. It's finally live. Click here. And it just goes to a sales page for the community. And then a post about your family and the vacation you were on, and then the book you just wrote. Click here to get the book. And it just goes to a website that just tells about the book, right? So with a personal profile, it's like you don't have to be as professional. You can kind of talk about all things, and it actually just gets people to relate to you more because they're like, oh, he's got a family. He's a dad. I'm a dad. Oh, I can trust him more. He's a dad, right? I mean, like, people judge, we judge off of what we see. And so if you keep your personal life separate, nobody really gets to know you. Because when you see me in a 3-piece suit at a marketing event, that's a lot different than the other 6 days of the week. I'm the same guy, but you still have a completely different image of me.
Yeah. I know for me, Aaron, when I started doing what you just said, my followers grew like crazy. I wasn't getting any traction on my professional page, but when I changed it over and just converted my personal page to like a business page, I mean, it was like hundreds of people came in after that. So yeah, it's really true. It really does work.
Okay.
You want to see how you could even make it like grow more. Commit to going live every single day on your personal profile and like go live and just talk about what you're doing in your business every day for the next year. I did it just every day. When I first heard this concept, I'm not teaching new concepts, just so you know. These are not like Aaron's concepts, golden information you'll never find anywhere else. I'm just bringing it to attention because it works and it's proven, because it's not just something I just made up. This is just the way things work. We're leveraging the algorithms, the platforms, and things that we know work. And so when I first heard about this, I had like 1,200 or 1,100 friends or something like that on Facebook. And I didn't do a lot on Facebook. And I remember my coach at the time goes, go live on Facebook every day for the next year, and you'll have all the money you've ever wanted. And he was like, just document what you're doing. Just go live, talk about what you're doing. That's it. So I called it Live at 5. And at 5 o'clock every day, I would go live on Facebook and I would just talk about, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm building. Here's what I did since yesterday. And it got to where people were actually showing up and watching and would comment. And I'm like, that's so weird. I'm not talking about anything important, you know? But the fact that I was a month in, I was now at least 1 month ahead of the people that were getting started. And they saw that as something that was useful, right? And when you did it every day, people are like, oh, some days just suck. Some days you don't get anything done. Because I was honest with people. I'm like, hey, so between yesterday and today, I did absolutely nothing. I was frustrated. Didn't seem like anything was working. So I just gave up and walked out. And my live was like 5 minutes long. And I think I only ended up going live for 65 days, I believe is what it was, 65 or 67 days in a row. But I went from 11 or 1,200 friends to capped out at 5,000 in just that 65 days. I had so many people messaging me. It was ridiculous. And that was actually one of my lives, was my live the next day. I woke up that morning and I had the little red notification on Facebook and it said 740 some notifications. And I was like, whoa. So when I went live that day, I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And like, I didn't expect it or anything else. But for those of you who have like sent me messages or comment on stuff, and I was like, held up my phone, I'm like, you guys see this little red circle? That says 749. I was like, I am not going to go through those. It's like, so if you messaged me, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get back to you. That was literally my live that day. So it created the content for the next day. And I'm like, that's not that valuable. To me, it was kind of silly. But at the same time, other people saw that and they were like, if I go live every day, I'm going to get that kind of interaction and traffic. Because I had no idea either. And this was the start of kind of doing business on Facebook. Was I launched with kind of that 65 days. I said I was going to go live longer, but for some reason I just quit at 65 days. I think for me, I was like, I started doing business and we started making money off of that. And so I faded on going live. You find something that works and then you stop doing it. So we started leveraging it in different ways, and we turned it into 5-day challenges. And every week I was hosting, or once a month I was hosting 5-day challenges. We were selling a high ticket program, and it all just kicked off by going live and saying, okay, today's day 1. I'm creating this and I'm not really sure where I'm starting. So I'm just telling you guys I'm starting, and nobody was watching. No comments, no views, just me talking to myself. And then a few weeks later, there's other people commenting. I'm like, well, that's cool. You know, so-and-so shows up each day. That's kind of interesting. You know, and they would comment like, oh, that's so helpful. And I'm like, really? You know, at the beginning, you feel like an imposter, but just go live every day and it just draws traffic to your profile, because the more interaction there is, Facebook shows it off.
Okay, how long? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? How long?
Depends on what you have to talk about. Like I said, I had days where it was just like, hey, you know what? Everything's off today. I'm going live because I said I would. But honestly, I'm frustrated. I didn't do anything since yesterday. That's just the way it is. Some days are that way. And today's one of those days. So this is my live for the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Other times I'm like, oh, okay, so I built out this thing and I learned this thing, and I'd screen share and show what I was doing and what I learned. And then like people followed along. I was like, it's so interesting. Just don't hold back on people, you know, like teach them whatever it is that you're learning. It's documenting your journey instead of trying to come off as the master, right? Even right now, I tell you guys all the time, I'm like, hey, I'm not the master. Our tech guys know so much more about this than I do. Like, I'm not going to act like I know all things about automation. I've got a really good idea because I've worked with a lot of companies over 5 years to build systems, but my tech people still know more about building it than I do. There's still like people that know. So if you report, this is where we're at, this is what we're working on, this is why we're doing it that way. I don't know how we're doing this piece, but I'm going to try this. And then come back and tell them the next day or the next week, okay, I tried that. Horrible idea. Didn't work at all. It's an honesty, and they relate to you and they trust you even more. And then when they trust you even more, they're going to grow with you.
So Aaron, would you say that, I mean, you don't have a limit basically on your Facebook page, your personal, it's open right to the public, right? I mean,
yeah, I just make everything public.
Not an invite thing or anything like that. You're
Nope,
just
just a
letting it
personal
be.
profile. That was it. Yep.
And what do you do with those that are kind of sneaky and not really being true and all that? How do you handle that?
Unfriend them and move on. It's a personal profile, so everybody who's in there is a friend.
Yeah.
Is a friend digitally. It doesn't mean I know 5,000 people, but digitally they're a friend, right? Which means you can unfriend them. And if somebody sucks and they start adding comments, you just block them. Like, it's a social profile. It's set up for that. Don't waste your time with people that are dragging you down, dragging you backwards. And I've even told my family, I'm like, hey, if you don't like it, feel free to just text me. Don't follow me on Facebook, because I'm going to talk about my ministry. I'm going to talk about my business and what I do. Like, because it's who I am and that's where I talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, don't get hung up on crappy people, because that'll happen in person too. You can choose to stand in the circle with a bunch of people while one person's being a turd, or you can be like, hey guys, catch you later, and you can leave. It's easier virtually. Block, move on. Like, you never even have to see that person. So yeah, quick unfriend and block and move on.
Should I, because I created a business page, a Facebook business page, which is more of a nuisance than it is anything else. And should I just can I delete that, or should I just leave it alone and then just focus? I mean, so now I'm looking at it okay, I'm going to strip down my personal profile to what you're talking about and just focus on that. Right.
Yeah. So just leave it alone. I mean, there's no reason to create extra work. Scalability is there. There's a fast scalability Facebook page, because we have to have a page to run ads if we decide to run ads, but we don't add content to it. We don't do anything with it. We get spam comments on it. We got a bot that responds to them and then they don't talk to us anymore. And I mean, I spend absolutely no time on the business page at all, because I'm updating my personal profile and then hanging out in the groups and providing value.
Okay. Well, thank you for your valuable input. That was awesome.
You're welcome. It's organic. And remember, it works for LinkedIn or anything, no matter what the profile is. Crystal, what were you going to say?
So I'm just going to, because I know MJ probably has the same feelings as me. And me and Aaron have talked about this for almost a year now. And I was very protective of my personal Facebook page and the relationships I grew in there. I was I know every single person on my page. It was about 500-ish people that I'd met, and I was growing those relationships personally with them through business, through connections, through relationship, all of that. And so I was very protective of that. And he's like, why? And I had my personal, I had my business one that was my same name. So people could find me, whoever, but my friends could only find the real me. So we had this conversation, and through things that we had set up in growing Label Breakers, I wasn't able to use my professional Crystal Travis page, but I could only use my personal. And so I started doing more on that. And actually just today, as I was sitting with my daughter, I looked at my page and I'm like, oh, I'm almost at 900 friends now on my personal page. So it's almost doubled in not quite a year that I've been sharing on there and doing things on there. And so I kind of am still with you, MJ, because I'm still a little more protective. I want to be selective, my who, you were talking about. I kind of still want to be selective with my who. I just don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come on there and start giving me crap, because I know as label breakers, they're going to do crap. And I don't want to have that negativity of the world in my life. So I still am kind of more selective of who I let come on as my friend, but I do more post public. I do go into the groups more, and it is growing, and stuff is growing, and so I will, as you, like all the stuff you're seeing today, I was just going in there, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I ever changed that on my personal page to add labelbreakers.com as my website and all that. So I was doing that while you were talking. So, so yeah, I just want to give a little testimony of the growth and the in between, and that, there's still, I'm not full on Erin, but I'm me, but there is growth into that. And also just speaking, like even in the groups that we're in and sharing in those groups live every day and connecting with each other, and just like you said, using your voice and putting it out there and saying it all the time. So
you accept friends, or do you just can you set it up so that you can just have people follow you? I mean, I've seen that.
Some people used to be able to follow, and I was looking at that with my daughter too. So maybe Erin knows more. I don't know about the follow button now, because I didn't see that.
It's just a friend thing. Somebody's gonna send you a friend request. But here's what you really have to just make up your mind, period, as to why you're using what you're using. Because if you do what I'm talking about going into other people's groups where your ideal client is, where people that you want to know are. Where people that can use what it is that you have are. I'm not talking about sending it out to a bunch of people in random countries that spam everything and being like, be my friend because I can break your labels, and then getting a whole bunch of crappy friends. Not like your mind is blowing things up. Like, I'm going to get a bunch of people that just talk trash. I have had like a couple people talk trash, and I think there's like there's over 7,500 followers or something on Facebook now on my Facebook profile. I get no trash. You know what they do? They leave. And if they talk one piece of trash, I simply unfriend them and block them. And now I've got an extra space for another person. Like, there's going to be maintenance to every business out there. And honestly, if you're thinking business and ministry and I want to protect it and keep it separate, there's going to be crap that comes with every ministry. Look at all the videos and the way the Christians like to talk about each other these days. We can't seem to get along about anything and just do the work of God. We've got to talk about how this church and that home church and those guys on the beach are all doing it wrong. So like, it doesn't matter what you're in, you're going to get people that disagree, but don't be afraid to move forward and progress in what it is you're trying to build and getting your message out. Because if you're afraid to scream your message from the rooftops because somebody might not like it, well, the Bible speaks a little about that.
Yeah, it does.
I'll let you find that and decide on your own. But I see it as like, if God gave me a message, then we're supposed to say it. Jesus was sent here to do something. He talked about it. He upset a lot of people. I don't go out trying to upset people. I go out trying to help people. Jesus was trying to tell people about the kingdom of heaven, and it upset some people, and they killed him for it. And now most of us today, like, we don't understand persecution at all. And so if anybody has anything negative to say, the world kind of breaks down these days. Like, well, part of it, I think, was I was a police officer for 5.5 years. I've been called everything under the bus. Anything you can think of, even just make something randomly up. I've probably been called that. And I just don't care anymore, because like, the fact was, not a single one of those people had any bearing on my life. And if somebody's going to come in, like, somebody could show up on this call and start really razzing. This is why a lot of coaches and consultants and things don't open up conversation. What if somebody asked me a question I don't know? Well, I'm going to say I don't know, and I'm going to point you in the right direction, because I don't know, and you trust me and I trust you, and I'm here to help you. And if you're going to start being rash, I'd be like, mute, remove, and then I'd be like, oh, glad they're gone. They're out of the friends list, aren't they? That would be my response, and we would carry on. Because if you're going to come in and start problems, what makes you think you're going to be allowed to stay? I don't have to allow it, and I never will, period. So when you say something about like, I don't want to open up my stuff and have the negativity of the world, I'm like, bring it on, because point yourself out as a negative person so that I can remove you quickly, instead of wasting the next year of me getting to know you and finding out you suck.
Yeah.
Erin's super, super strong though. Sometimes it takes a little bit of us to work up to that. And I have been, I mean, that is why Label Breakers hasn't gone out, because he had to make me strong to get to that point. So we, you know, we do go through steps to get.
Grow at your own level. Grow at your own level.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Grow at your own level.
Like I said, Crystal has opened it up and she's starting to let it come in, right? You know, when Jesus prayed for his disciples, he said, I pray that you don't take them out of the world, you protect them in it. It's like, we gotta be able to stand in it, but that comes from growing and it comes from building it. Like I said, I'm to the point where I don't care. I'll deal with it when it shows up, because I'm clear on the message that I have and I'm clear on how we're helping people. And if I don't talk about it, then I can't help anybody. And so I'm like, open it up. If you don't like it, feel free to leave. If you want to tell me you don't like it, I'll help you leave. And then I'm going to continue talking about it so that we can just continue telling people about it. Because I really believe if we have a message that we're going to get it out. We have to.
We have
I believe if God gave us something, we are mandated to multiply it.
That's why I'm here.
I simply look at it as that. I'm mandated.
I just want to be behind my computer. I don't want to have to do all that. But no, I got to get pushed out.
Well, marketing is all about it. And every single time I've ever tried ads, as soon as we turn on the ads, there's comments of, this is a spam or a scam, or I'll pay you just to quit taking people's money. Like, there's all sorts. And the very first ones, I immediately was like, oh no, what'd I do? And then I went through and I was like reading the comments, and like, it was frustrating me. I'm like, I'm not scamming. Like, this is real. I really do those things. And it bothered me. And then I was like, why is this bothering me? I don't even know this random name on a Facebook comment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and then like my prayer is, Lord, help me see people like you see people. Yes. So as soon as somebody talks crap about me or gets mad at me, my immediate response now is, Lord, help me see them like you see them. Yeah. And I immediately am like, oh, they're hurt. Yeah. Like, they've had a bad day, or they have bad relationships. They hate their job. They hate their life. And I'm like, Lord, bless this person as I remove them from my group.
Bless them.
Bless them as I remove them and block them from now on. Send someone else to talk to this person.
Send them to Crystal. No.
Yeah, send them over to Label Breakers. Does it?
So we'll break that label on them.
Yeah. As you guys get into marketing, you have to market your deal to sell your stuff. Even if you're an evangelist, you're marketing. You're going out and you're talking about the good news to get people to come in. Some people like it, some people don't.
I guess that's what it means when you have to deny yourself, right?
Yeah. What's your message? How can you talk about it everywhere you're at to as many people as possible? That's the only way that you guys are going to sell anything or build relationships that spread and, you know, really grow that and everything else. So just think about that. How loud can you be? How can you be louder? You're on podcasts. So Facebook is one thing that I pointed out, right? Somebody else's group, attract them back to your profile. You can do it at networking events. That's the whole elevator pitch thing. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I help kingdom-minded coaches turn their expertise into monthly recurring revenue. Oh, interesting. How do you do that? It either sparks a conversation, or they go, oh, okay, cool. And it doesn't spark a conversation. And you simply move around the room and you attract the right people and you repel the others. It works for every setting you're in. And then as you move into running paid ads, you'll have more conversations to draw off of so that you can write better ads that will actually convert better, because you'll know how to talk to people because you've had those conversations in Facebook groups and personal and everything else. So just think about that as you start getting into pushing your message out. How do you be louder? So that's one method. We've went long enough, I think. So that's it. A lot to take in, but go ahead and take a look at, I would challenge you, take a look at what you guys are doing to get your message out. And whatever you're doing to get your message out, look at it and say, how could I get it out more? Look at your profiles. If you're on Facebook and your group's on Facebook all the time, or if it's LinkedIn, if it's your YouTube channel, if it's a podcast, if it's your book, how can you take that and let it be seen by more people that draws them to a place? Where is your ideal client hanging out, and how can you go and interact with them there? And then review this video on how we talked about like the groups back to a certain thing that leads them down a path. That's the start of the funnel process, right? So think about that in your businesses this week. Where's your person at? How can you interact with them more? Post that in the Facebook group or on the comment on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. So post those, because it'd be cool to hear as you guys start brainstorming this. If you're already doing it, feel free to share with us how you're doing it so other people can learn from you. It's one thing to hear it from me, but like Crystal said, Aaron's like hardcore this and that. I was like, I'm not like Aaron. Well, they might be like you and they'll learn from you. And so it's perfect. Share your experiences in the Facebook group so we can learn from each other as well, because you guys will inspire each other just as much as I would inspire any of you. And so I want you guys to learn, and you'll learn a lot by teaching as well. So those are the action steps for this week. Thank you again for joining me and giving me your time. I know it's something you can never get back, so I promise to do my best not to waste it for you. Have an awesome weekend. We'll catch you guys next Friday.
Thank you.